John Matthews was a man who had everything that most people dream about. He was the CEO of a big company that made many products people used every day. He had a big house, a fancy car, and he traveled to beautiful places often. Despite all this, John sometimes felt that he was missing something important. His life was full of meetings, phone calls, and decisions about money and business. He rarely had time to see the world outside his office walls. One morning, John woke up feeling different. He wanted to understand what life was really like for regular people, not just the people he met in his office or at fancy dinners. He wanted to see how people lived, what problems they faced, and what made them happy. So, without telling anyone, John decided to take a walk in a part of the city he did not know well. He left his usual suit at home and wore simple clothes, a plain shirt, jeans, and comfortable shoes. He wanted to be just like any other person, someone who could walk around without being noticed. As John walked through the busy streets, he looked around carefully. He saw small shops, children playing outside, and people chatting with their neighbors. The buildings were old and not very clean. Some places looked tired and worn out. It was very different from the shiny buildings and clean streets near John's office, but John liked it. There was something honest and real about this place. People smiled, even though their lives were not easy. They helped each other and showed kindness. After a while, John came to a small apartment building. It was not very tall, just a few floors. Paint on the walls was peeling, and some windows had curtains that looked old. It was clear that this was not a wealthy place, but it was a home for many families. John decided to stay here for a while. He wanted to see how people lived inside these apartments. He walked down the narrow hallways, listening to the sounds coming from the rooms. He heard a baby crying softly, the sound of a television, and the quiet voices of people talking. Then, near the end of the hallway, he stopped. Through a small open door, John could see a woman standing by a sink in a tiny kitchen. She was carefully washing clothes by hand. The water in the sink was full of bubbles and suds. She looked tired, but she was focused on what she was doing. John watched quietly, not wanting to disturb her. The woman was young, maybe in her late 20s or early 30s. Her hair was pulled back, and her clothes looked worn but clean. Next to her, on a small chair, sat a little boy. He looked no more than 3 years old. His eyes were big and curious, and he smiled at his mother as she washed his clothes. The boy's clothes were small and simple, but John could see they were well cared for, even though they were being washed in the sink instead of a washing machine. John felt something deep inside his heart. He'd never thought about how hard life could be for some people. He'd always been busy with his own problems and successes. But now, seeing this mother working so hard to care for her child, John felt a mix of emotions, sadness, respect, and a strong desire to help. He wondered why she had to wash clothes by hand. Was there no laundry machine in her apartment? Was she trying to save money? How many times a week did she do this? How many other things did she have to do to make life better for her child? These questions filled John's mind. At that moment, the woman looked up and saw John standing near the door. She smiled shyly and said hello. John smiled back and walked inside. He introduced himself simply as a neighbor who had just moved into the building. He did not say he was a CEO. He wanted to get to know her without any special treatment. Her name was Sarah. She told John that she was a single mother. Her husband had passed away a few years ago, and since then she had been raising her son alone. She worked 2 jobs to pay the rent and buy food. The apartment was small, but it was home. She explained that the building did not have a laundry room, so she had to wash clothes in the sink. It was hard work, especially after a long day. John listened carefully as Sarah talked. She spoke with honesty and strength. Even though her life was difficult, she never complained. Instead, she focused on doing her best for her son. John felt more connected to her than he expected. He realized that this simple apartment held a story of courage and love. They talked for a while longer. Sarah showed John pictures of her son, telling stories about his first steps and his favorite games. John shared small stories about his own childhood, but he kept the conversation friendly and easy. He wanted Sarah to feel comfortable and respected. As the sun began to set, John thanked Sarah for sharing her time with him. He promised to visit again soon. He left the apartment feeling a new sense of purpose. He wanted to find a way to help people like Sarah, not with money alone, but with understanding and respect. Walking back through the hallways, John noticed other doors and wondered about the stories behind them. How many more people faced challenges quietly? How many more children, like Sarah's son, needed support to grow up happy and healthy? These thoughts stayed with him. That night, John could not sleep. He thought about the mother washing clothes in the sink and the little boy smiling at her. He felt a strong need to do something meaningful, something that would make a difference beyond the walls of his office. From that day on, John started visiting the neighborhood more often. He listened to more stories and met more people who lived quietly but bravely. Every visit gave him new ideas and hopes. He knew that success was not just about money or power. It was about kindness, respect, and helping others live better lives. John's walk through that small apartment building was the beginning of a journey to see the world through different eyes and to make a real difference in people's lives. And it all started with one mother quietly washing her child's clothes in the sink. John kept thinking about Sarah and her story. After their first meeting, he decided to visit her again. This time, he wanted to learn more about her life and the challenges she faced every day. He wanted to understand how she managed to take care of her little boy all alone. When John arrived at the apartment building, he found Sarah in the small kitchen again. This time, she was preparing a simple meal for her son. The kitchen was small and had only a few basic things, but Sarah moved with a quiet strength, smiled when she saw John, and welcomed him inside. As they sat down, Sarah began to share more about her life. She told John that her husband had died suddenly a few years ago. It had been very hard for her. She had to learn how to manage everything alone, from paying bills to taking care of her son. She had never imagined she would be a single mother, but she faced the challenge bravely. Sarah worked 2 jobs. During the day, she cleaned offices, and in the evenings, she worked as a cashier at a local store. Her work was tiring, and sometimes she felt exhausted. But whenever she looked at her son's smiling face, she felt motivated to keep going. She said that her son was her greatest joy and her reason to fight through every hard day. John listened carefully. He could see the love and care Sarah had for her child. Despite her tired eyes, she spoke with hope and determination. She told him about the small victories she celebrated, like her son learning to say new words or taking his first steps. Sarah also explained that money was always tight. Sometimes she had to choose between buying food or paying for electricity. She tried to save wherever she could, which was why she washed clothes by hand. She could not afford to use a laundromat or buy a washing machine. Even the small things, like getting a new coat for her son or a school backpack, were difficult to buy. John felt a deep respect for Sarah. He admired her courage and her dedication. He understood that her life was very different from his own. But what connected them was the love for family and the desire to give their children the best possible life. As Sarah talked, she mentioned how much she wanted her son to have a good education. She dreamed that he would grow up to be a kind and successful man, someone who would not have to struggle as she did. She wanted him to have more opportunities than she had. Education, she said, was the key to a better future. John asked Sarah about the support she had. She said that she did not have much help. Her family lived far away, and she rarely saw them. Her friends were also busy with their own lives. Sometimes she felt very alone. But she never gave up. Hearing this, John wanted to find a way to help Sarah feel less alone. He wanted to show her that people cared. He thought about the small things that could make a big difference, like having a place to wash clothes properly or getting help with job training. Sarah also told John about her son's health. The little boy had some allergies and needed special care. This meant extra visits to the doctor and medicine that cost money. Sometimes, Sarah worried she would not be able to pay for everything. But she always found a way to keep going. John asked about the local community and if there were programs to help families like Sarah's. She said there were some, but they were limited and difficult to reach. Many people did not know about them or did not have the time to apply. It was a struggle to find support. As the afternoon passed, John realized how many hidden challenges Sarah faced every day. From the outside, her life looked quiet and simple. But inside, she carried heavy responsibilities and worries. Before leaving, John thanked Sarah for sharing her story. He told her he admired her strength and that he hoped things would get better soon. Sarah smiled, grateful to have someone listen and understand. After that day, John thought more about how he could help not just Sarah, but others like her. He began to plan quietly, wanting to respect Sarah's privacy and dignity. He knew that real help should come with respect, not pity. John's visits to Sarah became a regular thing. Each time, he learned more about her life, the small joys and the hard moments. He saw how love and hope kept her moving forward, even when things seemed impossible. Sarah too started to feel a little lighter. Having someone to talk to, someone who cared without judgment, gave her new strength. She felt less alone in the world. Through these conversations, John understood that true kindness was not just about giving money, it was about listening, understanding, walking alongside someone through their struggles. John's view of the world was changing. He saw that behind every face, there was a story of hope, courage, and love. And sometimes the smallest acts of kindness could change a life forever. After spending more time with Sarah and learning about her daily struggles, John felt a strong desire to do more. He wanted to help her in a way that would make a real difference, but he also wanted to be careful. John knew that just giving money could sometimes hurt a person's pride or make them feel uncomfortable. He wanted his help to feel like a true gift, something that respected Sarah's dignity and strength. John began to think quietly about what he could do. He remembered that Sarah had said there was no laundry room in her apartment building. Meant she had to wash clothes in the sink, which was hard and slow work. It was a small problem, but it affected many families in the building. John thought that if he could fix this, it might help Sarah and others like her. He contacted his company's community support team, but he did not say it was for Sarah. Instead, he spoke about helping the whole apartment building. He arranged for new laundry machines to be installed in a common area that all residents could use. The machines were easy to use and free for the tenants. This small change would save time and energy for many families. John also wanted to help Sarah find better job opportunities. He knew she worked very hard, but 2 low-paying jobs left her very tired and still struggling. So, he spoke with a few local organizations that offered training and education for adults. He set up a private scholarship for Sarah so she could take classes to improve her skills. These classes would help her get a better job in the future, one that paid more and had better hours. While making these plans, John was careful to keep his involvement secret. He did not want Sarah to feel embarrassed or think she was receiving charity. He wanted the help to feel like a natural part of the community's support system. To do this, he asked a trusted friend from the neighborhood to quietly guide Sarah to the new laundry machines and tell her about the job classes. Sarah was surprised but happy to learn about the changes and opportunities, in addition to practical help. John thought about Sarah's son and his education. He remembered how Sarah said she wanted her child to have a better future. John knew that education was very important, so he reached out to a foundation that helped children from low-income families. He arranged for a scholarship to cover school supplies, tutoring, and activities that would help the boy learn and grow. John also paid attention to Sarah's health concerns for her son. He worked with local health clinics to make sure the boy could get the medicine and care he needed without extra costs. He wanted Sarah to feel less worried about medical bills and more able to focus on her family, while all these plans were happening quietly in the background. John continued to visit Sarah. He listened to her stories and shared small moments of laughter and friendship. Sarah noticed that things around her were slowly improving, but she didn't know where the help was coming from. She felt grateful but still proud. She was determined to keep working hard for her family. One day, John invited Sarah to a small community gathering at a local center. It was an event to celebrate the new laundry machines and the support programs available in the neighborhood. Sarah was surprised but happy to attend. There, she met other families who had also received help and encouragement. At the event, John saw how much the community needed support and kindness. Many people shared their stories, and John realized that his company could do much more to help neighborhoods like this one. he decided to start a special program through his company that focused on supporting families in need. This program would provide job training, education support, healthcare assistance, and community improvements. Sarah did not know that John was the CEO behind this new program. She only knew that her life was slowly changing. She could wash clothes in the laundry room instead of the sink. She had hoped for a better job in the future. Her son was doing well in school and getting the help he needed. These small changes gave Sarah a new sense of confidence and joy. John watched all this quietly and felt proud. He had learned something very important. Real help comes from understanding and respecting people's struggles. It is not just about money or power, but about kindness, friendship, and belief in better days. John also realized that his visits to Sarah had changed him. He had started his journey wanting to see the world differently, but now he understood that real change begins with listening and caring. He wanted to continue this journey and help many more people like Sarah. John's secret plan was working. He had found a way to support Sarah and her community without taking away their pride or independence. This was a beginning, a small light in a quiet apartment building that could grow and shine for many others. John knew that life could be hard, but it could also be filled with hope, kindness, and new chances. It all started with one mother, washing her child's clothes in the sink, and a man willing to see her story. Weeks passed since John had quietly set his plans into motion to help Sarah and the other families in the apartment building. Sarah had started using the new laundry machines, and it made her daily chores a little easier. Her son was attending school regularly and showing progress with the tutoring support he was receiving. Sarah was beginning to feel hopeful about the future. Even though life was still not easy, one bright morning, John sent Sarah a simple invitation to a community event happening at the local center. The invitation did not mention who was organizing. It just said it was a chance for neighbors to come together and celebrate their community. Sarah felt curious and a little excited. She asked John what the event was about, but he smiled mysteriously and said it would be a nice surprise. On the day of the event, Sarah dressed carefully. She wanted to look her best for her son and for the people she would meet when she arrived. At the center, she saw many families from the neighborhood. The room was decorated with colorful banners and balloons. There was food, music, and a feeling of warmth in the air. It was a celebration of community spirit and new beginnings. Sarah's son held her hand tightly as they walked inside. The boys' eyes were wide with wonder at all the noise and colors. Sarah felt a lightness in her heart, knowing that this moment was special. She noticed familiar faces, neighbors she had known for years, sharing smiles and stories as the event began. A man stepped onto the small stage. The room grew quiet as everyone looked toward him. Sarah's heart skipped a beat when she saw that the man was John. But this time, he was not dressed in simple clothes. He wore a suit and carried himself with the calm confidence of a leader. John smiled warmly as he looked at the crowd. John spoke about the challenges the community faced and the strength he had seen in the families living there. He told the story of a mother who worked hard to provide for her child, washing clothes by hand in a tiny kitchen sink. He spoke about the importance of kindness, support, and opportunity. Then, John revealed the truth. He explained that he was the CEO of the company behind the new laundry machines, the education scholarships, and the healthcare support. He said he wanted to help quietly at first, but now he wanted to be open so that everyone knew they were not alone. Sarah felt a rush of emotions. At first, she was surprised and unsure what to say, but then she felt grateful and happy. John's kindness was not just about money. It was about believing in people and giving them hope. After his speech, John invited Sarah to the front. He told everyone that she was the mother who inspired the help and support for the community. Sarah stood, quietly but proud. She smiled at her son and the people around her. For the first time in a long while, she felt seen and appreciated. John offered Sarah a job at his company. It was a position that would allow her to work during the day with better pay and benefits and more time to spend with her son. Sarah was overwhelmed but excited. This job could change her life. The event ended with music and dancing. People laughed and talked, sharing stories of hope. Sarah and John spoke quietly. John told her that his offer was not just a job, but a chance to build a better future for her family. He wanted to support her dreams and help her succeed. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. She thanked John for believing in her. She said she would work hard and never forget the kindness she had received. John smiled and said that he was proud of her strength and spirit. From that day on, Sarah's life began to change in many ways. The new job gave her financial stability. She could afford better food, clothes, and the small things that made her son happy. The community program continued to grow, helping more families with education, health, and support. John and Sarah's friendship deepened. They met often, not just as employer and employee, but as friends who cared for each other. John learned more about the neighborhood, its people, and the challenges they faced. Sarah found hope and encouragement in John's visits and support. John also continued to work on programs to help other neighborhoods. He shared Sarah's story with his company's leaders, inspiring them to do more for communities in need. His journey, which started with a simple walk and a chance meeting, had grown into a movement for kindness and change. Sarah's son thrived in school, made friends, and learned new things every day. Sarah watched him with pride, knowing that her hard work and John's help were opening doors for his future. She dreamed of the day when he would grow up to help others, just like John had helped her through it all. Sarah never forgot the day John first saw her washing clothes in the sink. That moment had changed both their lives. It reminded them that every person's story matters, and that kindness can come from the most unexpected places. John understood that being a leader was not just about making decisions in an office. It was about seeing people, listening to their stories, and helping in ways that respected their dignity. He felt grateful for the chance to learn and grow through his friendship with Sarah. Together, they showed that even small acts of kindness could create big changes. Their story became an example of hope, courage, and the power of community. And it all started with one quiet moment in a small apartment kitchen. Time passed, and Sarah's life slowly began to change in ways she had only dreamed about before. The small improvements John had helped bring to her world made a big difference every day. Washing clothes in the sink was now a memory replaced by the use of the new laundry machines in the building. The simple but meaningful changes gave her more time and energy to focus on her son and herself. Her son was growing quickly. Every morning, Sarah would watch him get ready for school with a smile. He loved going to class and learning new things. Thanks to the support John had arranged, he had extra help with reading and writing, and he was making new friends. Sarah could see his confidence growing, and that made her heart full of hope. Sarah herself was also changing. The job John had offered gave her not only financial stability, but also a sense of pride. She felt valued and respected. For the first time in a long while, she could imagine a future where she did not have to worry constantly about paying bills or making ends meet. She started thinking about goals beyond just survival, goals like saving money, proving her skills, and maybe even owning a small home someday. John continued to be a steady presence in her life. Though he had a busy schedule as a CEO, he made time to check in on Sarah and her son regularly. Their friendship grew stronger. They shared stories, dreams, and sometimes simple moments of laughter over coffee. John learned from Sarah's strength and resilience, and Sarah felt encouraged by John's kindness and belief in her. The community around them also began to feel the changes. The small apartment building became a place where people supported each other more openly. With the new laundry machines and programs, neighbors gathered, shared ideas, and helped one another. Sarah was often part of this growing community spirit. She volunteered to help organize events and even started a small group to support other single mothers in the building. John's company kept expanding its community support programs. Inspired by Sarah's story, they reached out to other neighborhoods. With similar needs, they offered education programs, healthcare support, and improvements to living conditions. John became known not just as a successful CEO, but as a leader who cared deeply about people. Sarah never forgot how it all began with a quiet moment when a busy man saw a mother washing clothes in a sink. That simple moment grew into a journey of kindness and change. Sarah believed that kindness was a powerful force, one that could lift people up and open doors to new opportunities. One day, Dara's son came home with a big smile and a drawing he had made at school. It showed a bright sun, a happy family, and a house. Told his mother he wanted to be someone who helps others just like John helped them. Sarah felt tears of joy. She knew her son had a future full of hope and possibilities. John, too, felt grateful. His life had changed in ways he never expected. He had started with a desire to see the world differently, but he had found much more. He had found friendship, purpose, and the joy of making a real difference. Their story became a reminder to many that behind every face, there's a story worth hearing and a life worth caring for. It showed that true leadership means listening, understanding, and acting with kindness. Sarah's journey was not just about overcoming hardship. It was about hope, courage, and the power of human connection. It was about the belief that even the smallest act of kindness can change a life forever, and so, life moved forward with new challenges, new dreams, and a brighter future. For Sarah, her son, John, and the whole community, the story was just beginning.